this game just completely fell apart, and I'm about to fall apart too. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Grace. I'm the crochet designer behind stitchberryblog.com, where you will find a ton of free, simple, cozy feminine crochet patterns, including my newest crochet pattern, the Agnes Clutch. I'm obsessed with her. I will never stop talking about her. Shameless plug. Not gonna lie, my back was hurting a little bit in that angle, so we had to switch it up a little bit. But welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited because today we're doing something that I've been wanting to do for months, like probably at this point 6 months, and that is going through my entire yarn stash. Still working on my studio office space. It's definitely a work in progress. It's gotten better. Really, I just want to create a really cozy space that I will want to create in and craft in, and obviously that is something that takes time. And obviously a big thing for me is keeping a space clean and tidy. So that includes going through my yarn. Now, this is a task that I was in the habit of doing very regularly, maybe like every 6 months or so for quite a few years. And the last, like, I don't know, 2 years, I fell out of the habit and I really have not gone through my yarn. I know I've gotten rid of yarn and I have gone through a little bit, but not like a true go through all of my yarn and just organize it and figure out what yarns I want to keep and which yarns I want to get rid of. I've always wanted to film like a what's in my yarn stash video, so I think this is kind of going to be a mix of the yarn in my stash and declutter my yarn stash. Now, what you see here is, I think, pretty much my entire yarn stash, and I honestly feel like my yarn stash is pretty small compared to others, and that is not in a way to shame other people or make them think that they need a small stash. You are more than welcome to have the size of stash that you want. I think big yarn stashes are really cool because you have your own little personal yarn store in your home, but for me, I do not like having a large stash. It overwhelms me. I like to have a little bit of yarn for wiggle room and just to be able to grab from stash to make a project, but for the most part I don't like having a large stash. So this has been stressing me out for quite a while because I know I've been needing to go through it. I know I'm not going to use up. So going through my yarn, organizing it, figuring out what yarn I want to get rid of is kind of the first step in cleaning out my office better and working on my office more. So I'm very excited for today. I'm a little bit overwhelmed, not going to lie. I feel like this is going to be a big task that will take a while, but it's okay. We will get through it together. And I hope you enjoy this video and going through my yarn stash. I'm really excited to show you some yarns and kind of just like talk about things, but even more importantly, I'm just excited to finally clean out my yarn and get rid of yarn because it's been a long time coming. I've been needing to do this for a very long time. But before we can get to the stash priorities, I feel like we should make a little bit of a coffee first because I need the caffeine and the motivation to go through this because look at my yarn. I'm very overwhelmed. So let's go make a coffee and then we'll come back and we will go through my yarn. I'm feeling like doing a brown sugar shaken espresso today. I have not made a brown sugar shaken espresso in so long, and I also have a little bit of vanilla bean paste. I think it'd be really fun to put just like a little bit of that in the shaken espresso, so I'm excited to try that. the spot. Brown sugar, vanilla bean, shaken espresso. So freaking good. But now we have my coffee. It is time to start organizing. I don't really have an idea of how I'm going to do this. I think really the best thing to do is just make piles. As stupid as that sounds, literally just make piles. What I'm thinking is obviously yarn that I'm going to keep, I'm going to put in one pile. I'm going to separate that in between my nice hand-dyed yarn, which I don't have a ton of, but I love my little stash of hand-dyed yarn, and then more commercial yarn, I think is how I'm going to organize the yarn that I'm going to keep. As far as the yarn that I no longer want, I am going to separate it between smaller scraps. Like for example, this is a yarn scrap that I do not need, but it is not a full skein of yarn either. So I'm going to put the scraps like this into one pile, and then the yarns that I have a larger quantity of in another pile. So that'll be easier to just organize and figure out how I'm going to distribute the yarn that I want to get rid of. I actually have several friends that knit and crochet, so I am just planning on giving away the yarn that I no longer want to the people in my life. I think really the best thing to do is to just start organizing and working through the yarn. I'm nervous and I'm scared and I know that I'm procrastinating, so I think it is time to just dive right in. So, you know, we're just going to start off strong. I know that I'm easily going to get rid of both of these yarns. These were gifts that I made last year. This was for a baby blanket. This was for a cute little amigurumi bunny that I made, which was for the older sister of said baby. So I know I'm not going to use these yarns. I do not need these yarns. I'm easily going to get rid of these because I have no use or purpose for those in my life. And we're just gonna start piles along this wall here. I feel like makes the most sense. And I have just like a ton of like little random projects. This was a crochet design of mine. This is the iced coffee cozy. Free crochet patterns on my blog, and the video tutorial is here on my channel. So that's a fun little surprise. We're just gonna throw random projects and things that we find on the side because why not? I know that this is We Crochet Brava. It is probably my favorite worsted weight acrylic yarn. It's so soft. I love their color options. I like to keep some scraps like this for stitch tutorials, or if I'm swatching something, and this is a good color for doing tutorials because it's not too bright where it's white and it's harder to see, and it's not too dark. So this is a great color, and it's great yarn for doing tutorials because you can really see the stitch definition in this yarn. So for right now, I'm going to keep this measly little scrap for tutorials. I found my yarn from the folklore cardigan that I knit last year, and I use Swish worsted weight, and I have a nice quantity here. I really think that this would make a nice hat. I think I would have enough because I have this full 50 grams, and then I probably have another 50 grams right here of worsted weight yarn. I could easily knit a hat with this, so I actually think I might keep this because I really like the color of it too. So I might keep this to make a hat this year. This could be a good way to use up this scrap. And I found some more yarn from the folklore cardigan. Again, this is Swish worsted. This is a nutmeg heather. I love Swish DK, Swish worsted. I know I said I like Brava. Brava is a little bit thicker, so I do like it more for like tutorials and things like that, but I love working with Swish worsted DK. I love the colors. It is a really fun yarn, and again, I think I'm going to keep this for now just because I know I have at least 2 full skeins of this. My card ran out of space mid-thought, but I think I'm going to keep this just because I'm keeping the green yarn, and this goes with the green yarn because it is from the same line, so in case I want to do some sort of contrasting thing with the yarn, I can do that. There are just so many random scraps, and it is stressing me out. This goes with that yarn The amount of scraps and winding is insane. Maybe it was not a good idea to just throw all this yarn on the floor, but we're committed now, and so I need to see this through because I can't just have all of this yarn on the floor. Now this yarn that I'm winding is, I'm trying to think, is Lion Brand Color Theory. I used this for my mossy blanket pattern, and I used it for the Moby sweater vest that I knit. Now when I bought yarn for the blanket, I way over guessed how much yarn I would need, and I had quite a few skeins left over. Now I still have, do I have 6 left? I might have a couple more hidden in the pile, but I have 6 skeins plus this partial, and this is after knitting a whole blanket and a sweater vest with this, and it's such a good amount of yarn that it's really tempting to keep, just because like I could easily probably knit like some sort of cropped sweater with this or do a pretty good sized project. But at the same time, I've made 2 projects in this yarn already, and I really don't think that I need this yarn in my stash anymore, even though it's kind of hard because it is a good amount. I think that there's other colors and yarns that I would much rather work with. I enjoy this yarn, but I've had this in my stash for almost a year now, and I think it is time to get rid of it. So this is going to go in the pile of good sized yarns that aren't just random scraps. Oh, looky here, we found a random project that I think will just go over here that I will probably frog. Not today, because I just need to get through this yarn. I'm trying to just like dig out all of the scraps because I feel like I will have a better view of like the yarn that I actually have if I'm not just staring at all of these little random scraps of yarn. Like this yarn I've had in my stash for years. This is Lion Brand Rewind. I believe I have all 3 of these colors because I made a bag with each of these, and I absolutely love this yarn for bags. This is probably my favorite bag yarn of all time. It is so sturdy, so durable, especially when you double or triple hold the yarn. I love it so much. This has been in my stash forever, and I think it is finally time to say goodbye. I do not need this in my stash anymore. It won't be good for tutorials or anything, and I think I just need to say goodbye. Okay, now this lovely project was a design that I was working on. I have a whole like sweaters quantity of it. This is Tweed Delight by Hobie. It's a lovely tweed yarn. I enjoy the yarn. It is a nice yarn. But I wanted to create a winter version of the Lilith cardigan, and I ordered this yarn. And the hard thing about ordering yarn online that you've never worked with before is you don't truly know how it's going to work up and how it's going to look, and it's always a gamble of if it's going to work out. And in this case, I was not loving how it was turning out. I also didn't like the color. Like I felt like it was too fleshy for me and it wasn't going to be flattering on me. And I just didn't like how it looked in this project, which is nothing against the yarn at all, but I just did not like it for this project. And I have a lot of it in this pile, and I know that I just need to get rid of it because I will not use it. I can't really think of a good project that I would like to use it for at the moment. And I love the neutral, but I also don't. Like, I just don't think it's me, and I don't think I'm going to enjoy anything in this yarn. So this is going to go in the to get rid of pile to give away, because I do not need this in my life right now. And this entire sweater quantity has been sitting on a basket on the floor in my office for what, at this point, almost a year. Not quite a year, maybe like, I don't know, 8 months, because I just was not in love with the design last year. So with this yarn, and now I'm currently swatching with some other yarns for the woolier version of the Lilith cardigan, and I'm really loving how those swatches are working out. So I think I'm just going to get rid of this yarn. Okay, I have some mohair scraps. I know I have one more, maybe I don't. But I have these two that are from the pearl headband that I held double with some other yarn that's probably in here. This is one of those things that there's such a small amount that do I really need this yarn, because it is also a mohair, so like what am I going to do with it? I think right now I'm going to keep it just in case I want to use it for any type of swatching. I don't know. I think I'm just going to keep it just for the time being. Oh, here's the other one. I'm going to keep it just for the time being, and I can obviously easily get rid of it at any point. But in case I want to ever swatch for like a crochet design or knitting project with this yarn before like I buy a whole bunch, I can easily do that. Okay, I really just need to stop talking about every single yarn because this is going to be an insanely long video. So I'm just going to quickly go through some of these. I know like this yarn, it's such a small amount, but I am going to keep it because it is the yarn for the Agnes clutch, and I want to keep it just in case I want to make like any videos or things, and I just want to keep it for the time being. Now, I know I literally just said I'm going to work through some of this yarn, but this is a fun yarn that I bought in Wisconsin a couple years ago. This is, I'm not even gonna just like try and read that, I will just show you the label, but I think it's hand dyed. At least that's what the lady told me at the yarn store. I was visiting a friend in Wisconsin. I went to a yarn store and I got this as a souvenir, and thinking I would make something with it, but I just haven't, and I don't have an idea or inspiration, and I just don't really want to work with it. Like I feel like there's so many other yarns that are much more my style, so I think it is in my best interest to get rid of this. Although it is a good amount of yardage, it's 500 yards, so like you could make a hefty project with this, but I don't think that this will be for me. Oh look, found 3 more of the Color Theory, so now we are up to 9 skeins of this yarn, which is insane. Then we run into issues like this. I've been sitting here trying to deal with this tangled blob of a mess for like 10 minutes at this point. This skein just completely fell apart, and I'm about to fall apart too. So in this basket I have my scrappy blanket, which I have not worked on in a hot minute, but I was gonna say I'm not gonna get rid of any of the yarn in here, but I'm not really feeling like putting this yarn in the blanket, so I think I am going to go ahead and get rid of this blue yarn. I used it to knit a pair of socks for my dad, and I think I want to keep this for the most part pretty much strictly hand-dyed yarn in this blanket. I know there is one color in here that I know is not hand-dyed, but that was several years ago. Yes, it has been a like 3-4 year project at this point. It's okay, but I have some scraps in there that I could work through. I kind of always forget about this project, not gonna lie. So, you know, this is honestly a good reminder for me to keep up with crocheting this project. So I'm not really going to go through anything else because I really don't have that many fingering weight scraps in here, and I know I just like want to put them in my blanket anyways. So all of that is going to stay in there. And you guys, we are almost done. I just have this much more to go. Look at those piles of yarn I'm getting rid of. Like literally like half of the yarn I'm getting rid of, which honestly feels amazing because I feel like I can breathe again and that I can have a clean slate for the summer and then going into the fall and winter season. I feel like I really learned my lesson last year, or I mean I feel like in the past year, because this was an incident that happened earlier this year, but I think I learned my lesson to not buy an insane amount of yarn for a crochet design unless you know 100% that A, the yarn is going to work for the design, or that the design itself is going to work at all. So as we know, the whole debacle that happened with this yarn, so this past winter I really wanted to design a shawl pattern using the stitch pattern that I used for the Alcott sweater vest. and I ordered like all of the yarn that I would need for the shawl, and I ordered it in twill by We Crochet, which was going to be my first time ever using twill. Side note, this has nothing to do with the actual yarn. It's a lovely yarn, and I'm sad that I won't get to actually use it for design right now. But I ordered like a whole shawl quantity in, it does not say, in oatmeal. And this color was not the vibe that I wanted for the shawl. Again, the same problem with this. It's just like wasn't going to look good on me, and I just was not a fan of this color. I feel like it looked way more beigey and not quite so peachy fleshy. I hate saying that word. I wanted the shawl to be made in more of a brown color instead of this color. It just was not the vibe that I wanted. So I decided we'll scrap this and we'll order the same amount of yarn in this brown, which is again twill. We'll do a different color, which I don't know where the rest of the yarn for this is. I really don't know, but we'll order more yarn. And then I wound up a skein or two. I wound up a couple of the hanks, and I started working on the design, and it just was not turning out, and I did not like it. And then I eventually scrapped the design because I was like, I can't do this. And you know, we'll bookmark it maybe for a later time, but it just was not working with the style that I wanted it to be with the stitch pattern. It just was not working. So now I have been left with an insane amount of yarn that I'm not going to use for a design, which is kind of frustrating. I learned my lesson to not buy this much yarn before you even know if the design is going to work. So it's a lesson that I needed to learn, I guess. And I was like, well, this is such a large amount of yarn. I'm going to keep it for now in case I want to do something with it. I've decided easily I don't want this yarn, this color. I just don't want to wear it, and it's just not for me. But I was like, you know, maybe I'll keep the brown because I really have been loving brown lately, and I could like knit some sort of sweater with this. But the more I look at it, like I like this type of brown. This is a really cool, rich, chocolatey brown, and this is more yellowy. I don't know if you can see the difference. This one is more yellowy and it's warmer, and I don't like it as much. Like, it's not a bad brown, but compared to this brown, I don't like it. So I think as I have just been here staring at my yarn, I think I've decided I'm also going to get rid of this too, because I just don't think I'm going to want to ever really use it. We're almost there, guys. Hang tight. I have, again, some more yarn from a failed design attempt. So last fall, which I actually think that this was in a vlog from last fall, a design vlog, I really wanted to crochet a pumpkin basket for fall. I think that would be so cute. And it just was not turning out. I had started with this brown. I don't even know where my thoughts were at. And then like I also bought the orange yarn and was trying to do it in the orange yarn too. I don't know why I have two completely different samples. I don't know. I don't have any words. So I have like two whole skeins of this, and then I have this orange, and I don't think that this design is going to work out. Like, I love the concept, but I'm just thinking ahead logistically to this season, and there's other designs that I want to work on for this year, and I just don't think that this is going to happen. I love the idea of making a pumpkin pillow, and or not pumpkin pillow, pumpkin basket, but I just don't think it's going to happen this year. And that makes me really sad because I think it's a really cute idea, but it's taking up a lot of space, and I can easily access this yarn. This is just Lime Brand Wool Ease. I don't really have any other immediate plans for this yarn except I could just keep this yarn to make a basket because this is low-key a good amount of yarn. It is tempting though to actually keep this yarn to make a basket. I don't think I want the orange yarn. I think I can easily say goodbye to the orange yarn, although this is a really lovely color. I do really like this color, but I think I might keep the brown for now. See, my thought process is I could just make this basket and then either use it or I could keep it and give it as a gift sometime because I love giving crochet baskets as gifts. We'll see. We'll think on that one. But I need to detangle this first. I love how I literally just said, yeah, I'm going to get rid of this. And then I was like, you know what? This would actually make a really fun pumpkin this fall. Like, this could be a fun little fall project that would not take that long at all. So I actually think I'm going to hang on to the orange yarn and make a fun little pumpkin this autumn. And I think that also means, even though I don't really want to keep this in my stash, I think right now I'm going to keep the brown yarn just in case for like anything with the pumpkins. If I want to crochet a cute little brown pumpkin, I can do that and I have the yarn, and then I don't have to go out and buy more yarn, and I can just pull from stash, which is insanely satisfying. Okay, we are almost there. The only thing that I have left is my hand-dyed yarn, which I'm not planning on getting rid of any of these. I have a very small hand-dyed yarn stash. Obviously, hand-dyed yarn is more expensive. I love supporting small makers and I love purchasing this beautiful yarn, but it does get expensive. So I only buy hand-dyed yarn if I have a specific project in mind or if there's something that really catches my eye. It's usually a collection is what inspires me, like a Downton Abbey collection, or I have a couple here from a Noah Kahan collection. So ones that I feel like I have an emotional connection to, I'm more motivated to purchase that. So yeah, I am not going to be getting rid of any of these. I purchased my first sweater quantity of hand-dyed yarn. This is from Ruby and Roses. This is her chauffeur colorway, which is from her Downton Abbey collection. It is so soft and so plush. Once I finish the tank top that I'm currently working on, I'm going to immediately be casting on a sweater with this for this fall, because I am going to be ahead on my fall and winter knitting and crocheting. And then I just have some other like one-off colors that most of these or all of these are honestly going to become socks. So except for this yarn, I'm undecided on which, I mean, obviously I have time to decide because I'm not planning on casting this on right now. But this is a really, really beautiful yarn from Studio EVG. I don't know, I'm sorry, but it is literally gorgeous. This is naturally dyed with natural elements and things. Like, I know there's marigold, and I wish it said on here everything that it was dyed in, but it is so cool. And I got this at the Wonderwool Fiber Festival in Wales when I was in Wales, and I bought this thinking I would knit a pair of socks because, hello, that would just be a beautiful pair of socks. But the more I look at it on my shelf, I'm kind of tempted to knit a hat. I don't know, I think it'd be a really fun pop of color hat. We'll see, because it's still muted enough that I would still enjoy it, but I think having a fun kind of confetti color hat like this would be really fun. But really the rest of these are going to become socks because that's what I like making with my hand-dyed yarn. So I have all of my yarn now in piles. I think I'm going to go ahead and put my hand-dyed yarn away on the shelf, and then we will start tackling putting away the other yarn here. Okay, okay, so this is what we are working with right now. This is all of the yarn that I'm going to keep along with the yarn in there. I already put my hand-dyed yarn away back on the shelf, and then
look at all this that I'm getting rid of. Like, that is insane. So like I said, I'm gonna put all of the scraps in a box, and then I have a couple people in mind for some of these yarns, so I'm going to go ahead and split the yarn, take pictures, see if they want it, and then if not, I'll just donate it somewhere. But like, look at that, that's crazy. Like, that is the yarn that I'm keeping, and that is all that I'm getting rid of. That's crazy. I am very excited to have gone through this. It feels so good to know that that is all getting rid of. And I have these 3 baskets right here, and I'm really excited because I know that the yarn is going to fit in those. So, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. The fact that I can get all of my yarn into this one basket, and then I think I'm just gonna set this yarn beside it, is actually insane. What the heck? Like, that's wild.